there, boys and girls. Welcome to this week's episode of Hollow Weekly. And this week, this is a smorgasbord of an episode. And actually, what's funny is the calling it a smorgasbord. I was just watching a show where they talk about in Sweden. No, it was Norway. Because Alex and I were like, oh, how much would a house be in Norway? And for like 1.9 million, you can get this eco-friendly house, which I don't know what that means, but it looks really elegant. And we were like, what do you eat in Norway? And they were like, there's this thing where it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. The smorgasbord. And I was like, oh.
Of course.
That's where it comes from.
And you would turn it into a sandwich. There'd be a smorgasbord sandwich.
Oh, if there's crackers or some kind of bread, all the meat and cheese is getting stacked into one. And yeah, so just to let everyone know, we're halfway through our Bravo countdown, which we are having a blast with. We're gonna take these last few episodes kind of easy, so we don't have to do a bunch of research, and we can just have fun with it and end out this shitty ass year.
Right.
They get back to, it's not, even though it's not like January 1st is going to come around and then like everything's better. But to me, it'll feel a little bit like that.
For sure.
So we're going to get back to that.
It's going to be a real interesting New Year's Eve.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're not traveling this year. So like, it's kind of great. I'm kind of excited to spend Christmas in LA because I've never done it. Mm-hmm. And I kind of want to drive around like the spots where they filmed Night of the Comet.
Like Night of the Comet style? Yeah.
Yeah, just to like get that like feeling.
Because it's the only chance you get to see it that way.
Exactly. Well, like even on like Thanksgiving, it's like, and like some like major holidays, like driving around LA is like weird. Like on Thanksgiving, like when I went to go pick up the food, like there's like no one on the way to Pasadena. And the highways are like seeing like 5-6 lane highways empty is always mind-boggling.
Well, it's super weird here, like for sure. Like,
it's very weird.
No doubt about it.
All right,
but
so
now you're making me want to watch Night of the Comet. Okay, so
you dirty rats.
All right, let's do it.
There we go. Okay, smorgasbord time.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna talk about Freaky. Just came out this weekend on VOD. Which I didn't know that because the writer, I think we followed the writer-director on Instagram, and he was like, Freaky comes out. And I was like, oh, we're going to see it. But it turns out it was just for the drive-in. And I was like, ugh, probably not.
Right.
Going to have to wait because I kind of don't like leaving the house. We're going to talk about Freaky. We're going to talk a little bit about Mank, which a lot of people had opinions on. And a lot that I don't agree about. I think Rain Johnson retweeted someone who we follow whose take I really liked. But then I saw some of Film Twitter's takes and it was like fucking garbage. And then we got to end it. I'm hyped for this last topic. We've talked about it before on the show, but Battlebots is back.
Yeah, and anyone who follows the show long term is going to know what's going to happen when we get to that because we love that show, that series, and that concept.
And it started out so perfect too. Like, god damn it.
It really did. Smee.
And Rusty. Oh, god damn it, Rusty.
Oh, Rusty's a star. All right, but first, we appropriately, it feels to me like our last new movie review of the year is going to be Freaky, which means that'll be the title of this episode. So we're going to go out 2020 review-wise with Freaky, which is perfect for this damn year.
Now, there is a slim chance. I do think we're going to probably end it on Freaky. But we might end it on Possessor, and I don't know which one's worse. Do we want to end the year freaked out or possessed? I have a feeling we'll probably end up liking Possessor a little more, but
I have a feeling
we'll get to that bridge when we cross it. So, All right, Freaky. Let's just jump into it. This is the guy who did Happy Death Day 1 and 2. He took another crazy fun concept, like from Freaky Friday, added the horror element to it, and we have some. Okay, you said you did some research though. I'm curious. All right, do we want to jump into that, or do I got to save it?
Here's the thing. I didn't know. So there's a reason we follow this writer on Twitter, and the reason we follow him on Twitter is because he wrote Disturbia, which we love.
What?
Right?
No.
And we love that movie. Or the director, I can't remember which. Like one of these people is Disturbia, and we love that movie. So, thinking back on Freaky, I can almost see like some of that DNA or whatever.
He did Disturbia,
right? I know, which is that might be in our How Low Can We Go like series because we really championed that movie, right? So
which is Rear Window.
Right, of course. Right, of course. We definitely, there's definitely a theme as to, the theft of things, not using that word in a negative way, just like it's.
Well, to be fair, I like that book. Great artists are still like an artist.
Yes,
there is something to taking a concept because you're inherently going to put your own twist on it. So it's not a negative thing. It's just it's just what they call it, unfortunately.
Yeah, totally. But I want to start this a little differently. I just want to lay my cards on the table up front and say that I think this movie has great performances in it, and it looks great. It looks great, and I hate this movie with like a white hot fire, and I feel terrible about it. I feel like
we're not normally negative,
right? No, yeah, exactly. And honestly, hate is one of those words. So like what I want to do here is to frame this, right? Because there are a lot of things to really enjoy in this movie. Mm-hmm. But here's how I'll frame it, right? So there's a philosopher named Nietzsche. I can't believe I'm starting with this, but he wrote a book called Beyond Good and Evil. And the point of Beyond Good and Evil was that he thought breaking everything into two categories, whether it's good or bad, was just like boring, not true to life, that there's a lot of gray, right? So movie reviewers a lot of time end up having to be good or bad. Like, I hate it or I love it. It's, it's good or it's terrible, right? So I want to do a little beyond good and bad kind of here, because I get a little gray with this, right? Because there's a very particular reason most of my hatred towards this movie is, and it's particular to me, right? So like I can understand how other people wouldn't have this. It's like a really high pitched sound, like a teenager would hear it, and an old person wouldn't. It's the same sound, but two different people, and they're perceiving it two different ways, right? A movie can get ruined for me if I feel like I see things coming. Mm-hmm. And everything in this movie takes painfully long to get executed. Right. For some reason, right? When they give you a backstory, you wait forever to see if you're going to find out more details because they didn't give you enough, and they never give you more, right? Mm-hmm. When they're about to hit like a line, like a really pivotal line, the character winds up like Popeye in an old cartoon, like swinging his arm around like 500 times before he throws a punch. Like, but the line this movie ends on, which I don't want to spoil yet, which is a terrible line. You feel it coming from a mile away. I actually felt it coming from so far off that I felt I couldn't stop it, like it was a meteor or something. Mm-hmm. Like I knew it was going to be bad, and I had enough time to be like, can I get out of the room? Maybe they're going to surprise me.
Put some AirPods in.
Right. What if I hum really loud? And like that shouldn't be your experience of a movie, but that's that's just how I'm hearing this whistle. I'm sure a lot of other people will hear a lot of different pitches, like whatever. But that the core of my hatred comes from the fact that my experience of this movie was I just felt everything coming, and everything felt like it was lazy. Right. But go ahead.
No, that was my, so like, I was just telling you before we started recording, like, the Starbucks that's down the street from us, there's a barista there, and we always talk horror movies when I go in there. So she's like, oh, she was asking me, did you watch Run? I was like, no, but we ended up checking out, I forget what we've been watching recently, but we usually just talk shop about horror movies. And I tell her like, oh, I found this like cool horror t-shirt or sweater on H&M. You should check it out. They got like Frankenstein shit. And like, we always talk about that. And like, I was telling her today, I was like, and I would tell this to anyone, like, watch it for the performances. The performances are genuinely good.
They really are.
And I'm looking at Christopher Landon, the writer-director's profile, IMDb. Do you know what else this guy did?
What else?
He did Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. He did the screenplay and he directed.
Yeah, which I love. I know.
Which is what blows my mind, because he's talented. Like, he knows how to do good.
No, and it also, so this is the part that bothers me, because I feel like that I've heard people say the same kind of things I'm saying about Freaky, about Scout's Guide, and about Disturbia. And I don't see it there, and I see it here. And that makes me feel really like not good.
Dude,
because why did I not see it there, but I can't get over it here, right?
yes, I mean he knows how to write, but like my biggest problem with so things I love. I obviously love the acting. I thought Vince Vaughn was fantastic, by the way.
So let's, for anyone who hasn't seen it, since it's brand new, basically it's a gender swap movie crossed with an 80s slasher crossed with horror comedy, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, and you're following this character. There's a mystical dagger that's as Tekken, which isn't even a thing. And then it's like when they stab each other with it, they swap bodies, and then one's a serial killer and one's a high school teenager, right? Like, and then she has to swap the body back by re-stabbing him. So that's the plot.
Do you think if I stabbed you and then you stabbed someone else, it would be like those street like tricks where they have the cups and they're like flipping around? That'd be a better movie if people just kept stabbing each other with this knife and you have no idea who the fuck's who. And then it's a real whodunit.
No, I absolutely don't think. I don't know if it doesn't matter if it's Incan or Aztecan or Mongol. It's just not. That's not going to happen.
No. But okay, so the acting was really good. I actually thought the score was pretty good too. The score reminded me of something that I would put on during Halloween time.
Agreed.
And a good score is usually pretty hard to come by. I actually thought some of the kills they were pretty brutal. The movie wasn't very scary.
It wasn't scary at all.
It wasn't scary at all. Like there wasn't a lot of like really even tension or like good scares, but the gore looked pretty goddamn good.
Like, the gore looked decent, although it had that like that 90s like underworld when the body is split in half and one half of the body slides away and it's way too clean look. Like it had that look for one of those kills.
But they were creative. But I will give them this. I thought they were creative. I thought the wine bottle down the guy's throat and then punching his throat and then the spikes.
That was the best one.
That was cool.
The best one, yeah, for sure. That was the best one by far. I think that's true. I just think I don't know that there were more than 3 of them in the whole movie. Am I missing?
There's the opening scene where like the one girl gets a spear, the one wine bottle.
Yeah.
Shit, I don't remember how the other people died.
That's what I'm saying.
Table.
Like,
There's
a table saw. So there's the opening kills, the table saw, and then I challenge you to think of 2 more kills from this.
Cryo freeze.
Oh, the Jason X ripoff.
The Jason X one, yeah. There's the cryo freeze, and then at the end when she's getting about to get gang raped by those guys, she ends up just like hacking them all.
Right, but we just kind of cut back to her Sin City style, and they're just all dead, laying around. Like I don't know, I was not impressed by the kills either. But again, I just felt like that was part of. I felt like I wasn't impressed with any piece of anything that wasn't the acting or the sound or the look. So there were a lot of shots that were like really iconically framed. Like it had a Heathers vibe where you felt like these shots where you could, if the movie had been great, you could end up putting those on a wall or like you would remember how they looked. And
right.
So it had that kind of like style, which was cool. But can we talk for a second about like some of these characters, like the mom? I have no idea what was going on with the mom character.
There were some weird beats in there, like the dressing room.
Emotional. Yeah, right.
She was like, "Here's your polo. My husband left me, and I've never been the same since." And you're like, "What?"
right. Which was really odd. And then I don't like. There was the typical like alcoholism sort of backstory between her and her 2 daughters.
Uh-huh.
And then the other daughter was a cop, and she was like an insane cross between the character from Silent Hill who's a cop and like I don't know what
Yosemite Sam.
Right? Yeah.
She just kept pointing her gun at like everyone, like children. She didn't care.
Right.
She had a license
She
to
didn't
kill.
care at all. She was like what Roy Scheider's character from Jaws would have ended up with if he had been on that beach for like 40 years. He would have just been shooting everything.
Oh, he wouldn't give a
Balls,
shit.
Like shoes.
These are my waters.
Right. Like a lot of these characters were doing very weird things for no apparent reason. And that was the thing was I didn't feel like any of the world was believable at all. We were joking with each other while we were watching this movie that this was set on Earth too. Because none of these people were making any decisions.
Well, so we
right?
we watched it with our significant others, and one thing that Alex and Jenny brought up is we're like the woman who played the main actress, like she's not ugly by any stretch of the imagination, but meanwhile all these guys are like she's only fuckable with a brown bag on her head. And we're like, who are you looking at? She's obviously not ugly.
Right. Well, there was like these very weird beats where the characters in the movie were assuming one thing, and you were like, wait, that we're not even assuming that, and we have way more information than you.
Right.
like you have like the moment when the friends they have to be convinced that their friend has swapped with Vince Vaughn, with the serial killer, right? Mm-hmm. So she's trying to convince them, and she does it by the way you would expect. She does like a
cheerleading routine because she's the mascot of her high school.
That was so dumb.
It was silly, but it was saved by the fact that it was Vince Vaughn. They were like, okay, here we go.
Well, that's why they did it, but they didn't bother to put us in a place where a character would have actually done that. They just like, this will be funny if Vince.
Well, I'll tell you the problem with that is I agree with you, because the movie tonally did not set it up for that to be an appropriate response that those characters would do. Like when we were done watching the movie, I was talking about another horror comedy. I was talking about like Tucker and Dale versus Evil, and how in one of the first few scenes, there's the gas station one, and they very clearly start playing on all the horror tropes, and they set the ground rules for what this world is, what's acceptable, what's not, how these people are more than likely going to interact. They give you like a little pamphlet of like, this guy's probably going to do that, this guy's probably going to act like that. In this movie, you didn't really get any of that. Like it just kind of jumped right into the Freaky Friday thing. It had its Scream opening scene, and then it just kind of quickly did the Freaky Friday thing, and then jumped off. We didn't really get a whole lot with the characters aside from seeing like a bottle of wine in the trash can in the kitchen, and her sister kind of like, shucks, mom's drunk again. Like that was kind of it. And then her getting bullied was kind of like, it was kind of cheesy. Like it wasn't like bullying. And you know what? I think it might not help that we just watched Let Me In, where like we saw like a movie about bullying done like hella right.
Right. Yeah.
This one she just kind of leans on and she's like, ew, your outfit sucks. And then she's like, well, I'm going to freeze you to death. Get ready, lady.
And that school. I mean, that school's got like some deadly equipment in there.
Yeah. What's the school's budget? They had a cryogenic chamber for their students.
That can with no safety mechanisms can kill someone in like 42 seconds.
What happened to the ice tubs? You just
that was pretty impressive.
Yeah. They had like LA strange. Lakers. Physical therapy room in there,
right? Because none of this world is real. That there were these cartoonish moments where the swapped characters had to convince that who they were, and instead of just immediately, like if I didn't look like me, like if I looked like Alex, if I came to you and I was looking like Alex but trying to convince you I was George, I wouldn't walk into the room and be like, all right, hold on, let me wait for a second or whatever. I'd be like, look, I have something really strange to tell you. I swapped. Let me prove it to you. I know you're going to. I would just blurt it out, right? But in this movie, the characters go, wait, everyone, if you just be quiet for a second, I'll explain it. They'd be like, no, there's no way. And they'd be like, wait, just give me a second. And they would do that like 50 times like Wile E. Coyote.
I know.
Like the characters would never update and just be like, all right, I just got to get this out, right? It was so weird.
They did. I thought they did. So, like, I agree with you. I feel like they did an okay job, like especially at that scene, because he had a really funny line. He was like, "Now that we're done beating the shit out of each other,
Right. The comic timing was
it's
good.
the thing is a lot of the stuff that doesn't make sense is for me just barely saved by Vince Vaughn's performance. Like, in fact, at the end of the movie, spoiler alert, they're gonna swap back. I kind of missed Vince Vaughn as the girl.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, I mean, he was doing a really good job. I thought her performance actually was tremendous. I thought all their performances were good.
They were all great.
I turned to you actually and said that I thought the friends were better than the friends in Sabrina, or at least they felt a little more believable and less annoying. So like, or less annoying at times, right? So like, I was fine, I guess, with that kind of thing. It's just, I'm trying to imagine. So if I always go back, this has always run in my head, like, because as a sound when I'm in situations like this, because there's a great Mystery Science Theater segment during their review of Attack of the Eye Creatures, where they keep showing you clips of really bad special effects, and they keep saying after the little tiny sequence, they go, they just didn't care. And then they show you something else to be like, they just didn't care. And like, if you come to this movie and you're like, look, I didn't believe the backstory. I didn't believe how the characters were acting. I didn't believe their school was funded by NASA like it apparently looked like it was. I don't believe this world. I don't believe this killer. I don't believe the lore. So the only thing I'm believing is the performances, and that's because the actors are doing a really good job, right? So like, but I don't believe a lot of the stuff, and like my fear is you just didn't care. Like, so prove that that's not true. And the response would be, well, if that was true, then how did we excel at this? And I'm trying to think of what is excellent here, and the excel part is only the performances and a few shots. And to see everybody online kind of like raving this movie and feeling like so good about it and whatever, it just throws me way off, because I feel like that is not the experience that we had.
Well, like, we were all shooting the breeze about the movie when we were done watching it, and I think it was Alex or someone said like, this idea in another director's hands like would have been perfect,
right?
And I think that's kind of true, but like, it's just kind of shocking that, like, I mean, he wrote Scout's Guide and directed it, and I love that, and I thought Happy Death Day was pretty great. I wasn't a big fan of Happy Death Day to you, but like, this guy clearly has chops.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. I'm a huge fan. I honestly, that's the thing is, and that's what I was trying to get at with my like beyond good and bad beginning of this is, if what the experience I'm having comes along with a high-pitched whistle I hear in my ear that I can't get out of my ear, I can't enjoy doesn't matter what you're giving me. It could be the best meal, could be the best book, but if this ringing is in my ear, I can't enjoy it. And I don't even think that's the fault of anyone making it, right? Like, this one just rings my ear in just the way wrong way, right? And that doesn't mean it's clearly enjoyable to a ton of people. And obviously, with the intensity of what's been going on in 2020, a lighter, like, enjoyable, energetic, like Birds of Prey style horror movie is a really welcome, experience, right?
Yeah.
Especially if it's got, standout performances by people doing things you don't usually see them do, and then other standout performances from people who are sort of new on the scene. Like, that's a great combination, right? So I love all of that. That's why this ringing in my ear is driving me crazy.
Yeah, no, it's
right? I can't put it any other way.
It's an odd one, but to have a good performance is still something. And
yeah, for sure. I mean, it is totally worth seeing. There's no doubt about, like, it's not.
Oh, especially the car scene. I definitely don't want to spoil that, but the car scene with Vince Vaughn the high schooler and her crush is probably. I mean, it's so weird. There hasn't been a lot of like movie or television moments where like everyone kind of like clinches themselves because they know what's about to happen. But this week we had two of them. We started watching A Teacher on FX, and there's a scene where like we all cringe because something crazy was going to happen. It's not the thing you think; it's the other thing that happens later. You'll know what I mean if you watch it. But then this movie gave us another one of those. That was actually probably the most tense moment in the movie. There was no horror slasher stuff. I didn't scare about anyone's lives, but I was more like freaked out about like what was about to happen in the car.
Right. Well, and it was also, that's the thing is I love, I wasn't, and still am not, I wasn't a big fan of The Babysitter on Netflix, that Netflix, release. Again, I love the performances. It feels like the same situation here, except for I enjoyed The Babysitter on the first pass way more than I enjoyed Freaky.
Yeah.
But they feel similar-ish, right? Like, especially since Babysitter grew on me a little afterwards and whatever. But the thing is that there were, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 moments during The Babysitter that I can remember off the top of my head where I was like, are they going to go there? And then they did. And then I was like impressed that they went there, right? You got cars flying into houses. I don't usually see that in horror movies. There's some things. So in this one, I wanted them to have more of that. Because there was the only moment where I was like, is this movie going to do this? Because all the other moments, I was like, you couldn't do is this movie going to do this? Because either it took them way too long to get there. Like by the time the guy got killed by the saw, the power saw got introduced like 3 minutes before it got used on him. Right?
Yeah.
So by the time it got around to it, I was sure that it was going to happen, and it did, right? So like, and then, the other points where they were doing things that might be risky, like when we're originally introduced the Vince Vaughn character and he's doing his best Jason Voorhees impressions, I was like, are they going to have him crash through a window and a door like Jason style? Like, are they going to steal that trope? Like whatever. And then they did it, but it was so obvious.
Yeah.
That I couldn't be impressed. I wanted there to be more moments like the car one that there's a reason that stood out to you. It's because it's super memorable, and most of the rest of the movie is not.
Yeah, no, I think like Alex said, for a fan of serial killers, this one, if you're going into this thing and like you're gonna get a lot of cool serial killer stuff because it's about a young girl getting flipped with a serial killer, you're gonna be disappointed because you're not gonna get a lot of like her waking up in the den. She literally wakes up in his den with all like the bodies and dead animals, and like that's it. Then she just goes like Terminator, high school Terminator. So you don't really get that, but I mean, it's so weird. Like I haven't had like it's so you said like you like this movie but you also hate it. I think I'm more just I'm optimistically bummed out.
Yep. That's about right.
You know what I mean? Like, there's some good shit there. I'm not mad. I don't think it was a waste of time by any chance. But, a little bummed.
You know what's super weird is, for How Low Can We Go? We would do neighborhoods. We'd be like, what neighborhood is the movie in? I recently somehow watched Blumhouse's Fantasy Island that is probably like 6% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh yeah, that one did not do very well.
And I like that movie a little better than this Freaky one.
Get out of here. Are you serious?
Yeah. So
wow.
just as a point of comparison, and there's more good stuff in Freaky. And Freaky, I don't know that it's more fun because Fantasy Island, that was all it had going for it. Was the fun part. The so bad it was fun stuff.
Trying to think of what I've watched recently. That like, what's my ballpark for it? Because we've just been watching a lot of TV. Okay. So like, if you're like Nick, it's Friday night. We got some pizza, we got some popcorn. We want to watch Freaky. Do you have anything else you might recommend? And the only thing that I think I could like recommend that might be a little bit scarier and maybe a little more entertaining is like whatever the latest episode of Dateline is.
All right, wait. Let's do this. Let's do this real quick. Let's do this. I'll throw some at you, and you tell me. So 2 years from now, your memory of this is faded.
Mm-hmm.
You might be interested in rewatching it. Like is it really as bad as I remember? Like whatever. So I'm gonna make you watch a movie, right? 2 years from now, and I give you the choice. You ready? So Freaky or The Gallows?
Freaky.
That's what I thought. That's okay.
But let me tell you something, George. I haven't had McDonald's breakfast in like over a year. All right, okay. And then just recently, I decided I had to take the cats to the vet, and it was kind of early, and I was like, let me get some McDonald's breakfast. Like I was just craving it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And I ate it,
yeah.
and I thought, wow, I'm glad I set aside for that. It still kind of sucks. It didn't grow. It didn't get better. It's just still, it's right where I left it. I feel like when I'm done watching Freaky over the gallows, I'm gonna have that same feeling of it could have been a lot better.
Okay, wait. So Freaky or the Child's Play remake?
Oh, Child's Play remake is in a whole different league.
Okay. So that's I'm just trying to get a benchmark on. Okay,
Yeah,
so hold on. So Freaky or Unfriended?
Oh, Unfriended, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
So the only thing I gotta go pretty deeper then. All right, so then no, that won't work either. So
Let me ask you this.
yes.
Same guy. Happy Death Day 2 or Freaky?
Happy Death Day 2. For
Yeah.
sure. I didn't I mean the thing is that I wasn't nearly as frustrated and aggravated.
No.
In Happy Death Day 2. Happy Death Day 2, the parts where I didn't like anything in Happy Death Day 2 I didn't like. I didn't like in the category of
Yeah.
I wonder why they did that. Like, I wonder why that scene just happened. But okay, it was kind of like that. Not like, wait, why are these characters fucking doing this? They don't, like, no one would do that. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't have that kind of.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Do you think because we watched it VOD at home, do you think the at-home experience versus theater experience, do you think it would have been enhanced?
So I'm very glad you brought that up because we can really quickly segue because we don't want to spend a lot of time on it to Mank because I'm going to ask you the same question about that movie.
Yeah.
So no for this, yes for Mank. This wouldn't have made any damn difference to me because I'm not like that. I'm not a spectacle person like most theater goers because I watched on so many small screens from such a young age that I was one of the because I'm an obsessive consumer of media. Like I read books and watch movies and all that stuff constantly. I have my whole life I've been like that, right? So like I was reading in the dark with like battery dead flashlights. Like I don't register that kind of thing. If I'm going to enjoy something, I can enjoy it at any size screen.
Right.
Right. But I think for other people that could be a huge, impact, right? And I feel like that could be a huge reason why a lot of people are really struggling with Mank, because I feel like a lot of what Fincher does is designed to be visually impressive in a way that it's hard for most viewers to get on, just home streaming screens.
Yeah.
Right? So we're done with Freaky, right?
Even though it sounded like we were hot and cold, give it a watch.
Agreed. And let us know what you think, because especially on these ones where we feel out of step with the world, we love to hear like the counter opinion and the counter argument.
Yeah, there might be something.
When I looked up reviews of it, all the reviews that were positive their arguments for being positive about it all seem to boil down to gender swaps are fun and 80s slasher movies are fun and high school horror movies are fun. Like they were giving
all those are true.
The credit. Right. They were giving all the credit to what it was. It was like reviewing a painting by telling me that you love the frame. Right. Like it was all the online reviews that were like all making it 83% on Rotten Tomatoes. They all resolved down to, man, this painting is amazing. I'm so glad I had it. The frame. Let me tell you about the frame. The frame
is a sandwich with no meat.
Right, exactly. So now Mank, on the other hand, I'm also out of step with the world on because I loved it, but I didn't unreservedly love it. I think it's super flawed in some very, very weird ways, but I think I loved it. What do you think?
So one, I knew it was black and white, but I didn't expect him to shoot it and make it look like an old time movie, let alone make it sound like an old timey movie.
Right.
I thought that was great, and I saw some dog shit like film Twitter, like snobby takes on it that thought they were
what'd you
onto
see?
something.
I'm curious.
Someone we follow was like, I hated Mank, I loathed Mank, and like they were trying to say they were saying that it said absolutely nothing. Which I have the quote the tweet that Rain Johnson or the Rain Johnson retweeted. I think her name's Isa Lopez. She has that really cool Twitter profile where she has blood on her hands, and I'm always like, whenever I see her, I'm like, she's gonna say something cool.
Yeah, she's awesome.
In that same thread, someone was like, it seems like Fincher just set the camera to black and white and then didn't bother editing it, the color in post, because they were saying it's muddy. And I'm like, this dude's had 2 different cameras from Red created for him by scratch. You think he's just gonna flip the camera to black and white and like, shit, is this a joke? Like, I hope, I hope you're joking. Like, this dude worked at Lucas Arts, like VFX, like he knows like visuals, like that's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen. And she was also comparing a shot from Ed Wood and a shot to Mank, and then later on she was defending.
I saw that, and it actually, the 2 shots she chose were making her point. I mean, but anyone can do that. Anyone can make a point by slicing one moment out of a 2-hour.
but then the person went on and said, like, I know they're probably using they're using different cameras and different lenses and stuff like that. But then they used it because they were saying they don't like digital filmmaking. But then she was listing all these other things and labeling it under digital filmmaking, and I was like, that's kind of a strange. I don't know if I agree with that take. You're gonna have to put a little more meat on those bones.
So the argument was that Fincher doesn't know how to make movies look good. Was that basically?
Pretty much. I mean, Social Network and Mindhunter. He doesn't know a good frame. I thought it was all. Plus, the thing is it takes place in like 1930s. Right? And I don't know about you, but I've had the channel on TMC sometimes, and some of those motherfuckers are muddy. Like, they are hard to look at. They were saying, shooting on digital and then making it black and white takes away the richness, which one is just completely not fucking true at all. Right. And then 2, like, there's a lot of old movies that look like dog shit. And like, I thought it was dope. I thought it was great.
So we don't have the time or space, and it's not even the right podcast to like really deep dive into the movie and the plot and all that stuff. Basically, Mank is about the person who co-wrote or possibly all wrote Citizen Kane with Orson Welles, and Gary Oldman plays Herbert Mankiewicz, and it's a David Fincher film, right? So like but the thing is, first of all, I'm very curious, like how, because this feels like The Irishman 2.0, where it's a movie from a major director that's first being experienced in streaming instead of in theaters, and it may have been different if it had been released. If you could experience it in a big theater. I'm glad that I saw Gone Girl in the theater. Yeah, it impacted. It would have taken me longer to realize how much I liked Gone Girl if I hadn't seen it on the large screen first, right? So,
right.
But here's the thing: like, this movie is not perfect. There are some painfully long, but some of that comes from the period it's set in. If you're setting a movie in the period, the same thing happened with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where there were annoying things happening in the scenes, but the annoying things were the 60s, not Quentin Tarantino. Right? It was like, I was getting a headache from the too bright clothes, but like, you can't dress, people in the 60s in all black, right? So like, it's that kind of thing. So the part of it is, the era that the movie set in is going to determine a lot of those things. But I don't know if I'm missing something or not, but it just felt like there was these core performances between Gary Oldman, Amanda Seyfried primarily, that you were following this story, and it was so adult. Like, they were having conversations where what wasn't being said was more important than what was. Mm-hmm. And you never get that really done right in movies. And to turn around and just shit on it because you think it's boring, or you think the black and white is Sin City flat instead of like rich Ed Wood. Like, it just seems like you're throwing out way too much good to try to point out some like of that bad. Does that make sense?
Yeah. This is my last thing about that one person's tweet. I was looking at their I was looking at their tweet going, I don't agree with this. You guys suck. But like, but then again, it's like a lot of people feel very weird about this movie. But sure. I think I get her, Isa Lopez. I hope I said her name right. I liked her tweet. I saw it from like Rain Johnson. She said, "Nobody's asking me, but Mank is not about author." Oh, because that tweet said that it's not about anything. And I was like, "There's definitely something fucking there. It's 2 hours. Like, there's got to be something." Anyway, so she said, "Nobody's asking me, but Mank is not about authorship or even politics. Those are the subplots. It's about the responsibility of messages we put out there, how they shape the world for better or worse, how owning our messages will break us or save our souls."
Yeah.
I mean, like, duh. Like, how that other person didn't see that? I mean, it's fucking William Randolph Hearst. Like, you know, he's kind of know that guy like wasn't fucking like perfect, you know, with the news and shit. To know like that's like what the movie's going at. So like how it just fucking flew over the head, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, to say it's not about anything is, you know, if I was playing devil's advocate, if I was trying to argue that my argument back would be, you're taking me too literally. I don't mean that they didn't think it was about anything. I mean that what they're trying to make it about didn't work. It's crap. So it's not about anything because it failed, not because they didn't think it was about something, right?
Right.
But the even that counter argument doesn't work because the problem is the movie is way too damn good.
Yeah.
So in a lot of parts, to sustain that, there's just no way. If you benchmarked like I'll be done with this because the only thing the fountain scene where you get Marion Davies breaking away from like the party and she meets, you know, she's with Herman Mankiewicz, and there's this sequence where they're sort of bonding, they're sort of like trying to figure each other out. They're also playing a little politics with each other, right? So like there's a lot going on in sort of that dynamic, but the visuals of it were so incredible because they kept giving me echoes of different movies in different genres. There was moments where William Randolph Hearst was stalking through his mansion that looked like a horror movie. There are moments where in the fountain scene where you got two characters talking in really elegant clothes and it looked like a Bond movie.
Right.
You had moments where they were tracking and they were talking about the history that was happening and it felt like a documentary. Like if a movie is hitting all these notes and it's doing it so well, there's just no way to come at it and say that it's not about anything or it's not like, you got to get a real argument to bring this movie down. And those aren't going to work.
That ain't it.
No, that ain't it at all. But anyway, this one I don't recommend people go see. If you didn't already know you wanted to see this, don't watch it. Because if you didn't already know you wanted to see it, you're going to hate it.
Yeah, it's also very long.
So to recap, I hated Freaky, but watch it, and I loved Mank. Don't watch it. just want
True.
Just want to recap where we're at.
But I think to end it, we have something that we love and
we do.
Recommend that everyone watch.
We do.
I put this in the horror category. I put it in the killer robot category. That's how
I
tie
there's
this
a lot
in.
of there's a lot of violence and mayhem.
Yeah, do you like watching robots fight? Do you like robot fighting time? We've talked about this before on the show, especially on the live streams. But you guys, 2020 has sucked so much ass, and we have this saving grace of Battlebots season. I think we're on season 5 or 6. It's back. Yeah. It is back, and it is better than ever. And they've somehow, I'll give a credit to the Battlebots team because NBA crushed it with being able to get their teams to play and no one catching COVID. MLB dropped the ball hundreds of times. I don't know if it's hundreds of times. NFL, they're rearranging entire, like there was 3 games today because people are getting fucking COVID. Wear your fucking mask. But NBA did it perfectly. And then the other production that I think did it better than those 2 other huge organizations is the Battlebots team.
Yeah, we were laughing because Battlebots, for anyone who's listening to this who hasn't seen Battlebots at all or doesn't know what it is, it's basically ESPN the Ocho from Dodgeball, but good. But well done. Right?
So well produced.
Because it's really corny and it's really over the top, but it's so well done. But it's got a real sports format. I didn't know because I didn't watch Battlebots growing up. I came to it late. So I didn't know how sportsy it was going to feel. I thought it was going to feel really sciencey.
I don't remember it feeling that way back in the 90s. I think it was more like Sega commercially if I remember correctly.
Right, exactly. But it's formatted like a boxing event. Like it's exactly formatted. It's got the pre-hype, then it's got the fight with the commentary. They even brought in like a sports expert this year.
Oh,
like a
he's so good. He's so awesome.
Right. So it just I don't know. It feels really sportsy. Which
why I like it.
But just
sorry.
The reason I'm saying it's sportsy is because it's so hilarious that you're watching it and you're like impressed how they're doing COVID protocols.
Yeah.
Right. Like it feels like they're punching way above their pay grade. Right. If I can turn on the pregame and see Terry Bradshaw and they're showing behind the scenes and I'm like, wait. Why are the Chargers doing that? This is a pandemic. And then I turn on BattleBots and I'm like, oh yeah, you guys are nailing it.
So there's no crowd, or there's a crowd, but it's not of people just wanting to watch. It's the other teams who are quarantined with them.
Right.
But that makes it kind of cool. Like the other teams are watching the competition, and
right.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's the only good choice. They needed people, and they chose the only good choice that made it work.
And they're like this. And this year, I think the way they were saying, we saw better basketball this year because NBA players are getting a shit ton more sleep. I forget how much they travel. It's like more than football and MLB players. Like that's how much traveling basketball players can do. So basketball this year was great. I think BattleBots is going to be even better because they get to watch their opponents instead of being out in the pit, working on their bots. They get to like strategize. Especially imagine if you're watching your opponent. You're going to be on the roster, and you get to see them do their thing. Like, holy shit!
Yeah, they're all like mini Bill Belichick's now. They're all spying on the event, which is cool.
The thing I really like about it is one, all the bots are like super creative, and like you end up just gravitating towards one or two bots, and like you go to root for them, and like they have these weird underdogs. Like last year they brought on Huge, who was just a huge robot that flips people. This year we have Smee and Rusty, who somehow fucking won his first match.
We can't skip over Rusty. We got to talk about Rusty.
Dude, they have Rusty merch, and I think I'm gonna get some.
Dude, but this is what I'm talking about. So like if to anyone who's seen the movie Hoosiers, Rusty is a character you will recognize, right? Like he's like, this is like an athlete. Like he's got a personality, a backstory, and it all makes sense, right? Like all the other ones have teams and big tech sponsorships, and it's like they roll their robots out, and it's like robot sponsored by like Jeff Daniels and Universal
Pfizer.
Studios, right, exactly. And then they're like, this guy is like no team. He's one guy. He's built one man. Robot. Yeah, he's one guy. He built this bot in a farm. It looks like some kind of insane drunk tea kettle that was rusted out that he glued onto like a lawnmower.
He looks like a pissed off fire hydrant.
And he won.
Somehow he won, and it's the most beautiful thing. But like, a lot of people like the Great British Baking Show.
Yeah. And
I think it's because that show has a lot of heart. Like the bakers, they're competing against each other, but they also help each other, which I fucking love. Because I worked on Hell's Kitchen, and like a lot of that fighting, a lot of it's bullshit. And like it's not real, and like we just like I guess Americans just love the drama of people yelling at each other. But like there's something you feel kind of taxed afterwards. Like it kind of like just does something mentally. But when you watch Great British Baking Show and they're all helping each other, like it's kind of sweet, and like you get to see like them try their hardest to make these like intricate, crazy, baked goods, and it's kind of heartwarming. BattleBots does the same thing. By interviewing, like you would think, like in a boxing, if I'm watching a boxing match, I just want to see the fights. I don't want to talk to the trainers. I don't want to hear all that because like that's not my thing. There's other people who love that. BattleBots does it, but like you get to know these builders and you get to see their personality, and then like it latches like your heart onto like someone. You're like, I gotta win for these guys. You hear their backstory, and like it doesn't feel fluffy. It doesn't feel fluffy or bullshit. And it's like it's cool to see the bot builders and how much fucking work the team that I think. There was a team that's new this year that won, and she said they spent like 700 hours or something like that building the spot. And so like you get a sense of like, because when you just watch BattleBots for the first time, it's like it feels like a bunch of nerds got together, threw some parts together, and just went in, and one of them blows up. But like when you go to like, especially someone like Tombstone, who is one of our favorite, I would love to have him and Farouk and Witch Doctor on the show. That's my goal for 2021.
For sure.
Hearing them talk about the physics of it and like they're they're thinking about like a fucking battle. Like they're like, okay, he is a spinner and he spins like left to right, so we're gonna have to go in there at this angle and hit him. And they're like, you get your head in the mind of a builder. You're like, holy shit! And the fights are only 3 minutes.
Right.
And it is the longest 3 minutes you are ever going to watch.
Right. And they're strategizing like chess, but in real time robot mayhem.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, we got to do this angle. We got to do this like strategy. We got to use this sequence of weapons and defenses and whatever. And while like there's flamethrowers going off and bombs exploding.
Yeah. And then saws
like,
come up from the
imagine
ground.
playing chess like in a battlefield, like sitting in the middle of like the Wonder Woman, 1907 charge and trying to play like a match of chess, right? Like that's what this must feel like to them.
And it's exhilarating. And then when your bot loses, you feel kind of defeated. But then like they interview the winner, and then like they say something really sweet, or they're so enthusiastic, and then you're like, okay, they deserve the win. Like there's no sour grapes in Battlebots. Like it's all like this just like awesome fun show.
Yep. And can we just, before we end it, can we just talk about Smee real quick? Because holy hell, every year there's just this one rando insane robot. So there's always like the heartwarming underdog robot, that isn't really going to make it far, but like Duck has always been that before this. But now this year it's Rusty. Like no one was like Duck's going to be the champion, but like you were rooting for it because it was just such a cool idea, And Rusty's the same. He's going to get massacred. But then every year there's another robot where you feel like it comes up and it's got a chance. Like that Hydra Flipper was that last year. Where you felt like it really had a chance, right? Smee is not that.
No.
He's the first category. He doesn't have a chance, but it's like a boa constrictor robot. Like
it's really weird.
It's like really long, and then it's supposed to enfold its prey and paralyze it, and not like try to chop it or burn it.
It's got like two blades on the end near their wheels, so it's supposed to hug you, and then while it's hugging you, it's grinding up your BattleBot.
Oh.
So it's a gnarly idea.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
You know what the problem is because I think they say his bot's 14 feet long, which is crazy, and it's 22 E's. But after his last fight, he wasn't big enough, and I really think they need to bump it up to 32 E's.
Right. Well, I want to interview them too because I'm trying to figure out how you drive a 17-foot robot. Like,
dude, if I saw it right, I think one guy does one side and one guy does the other, and I'm just like, that is such a dance.
That is unbelievable that they're trying to pull that off. I just give them all the credit in the world. I remember reading about certain of the huge dinosaurs, like the whatever they call them now, Apatosaurus or whatever, where they basically had two brains. So they had one brain in their head and then one brain sort of like on their ass because it's shaped like a brain because the neural signals take too long to go from the head to the tail because it's such a distance to travel that it needs like a cheat brain in the back that sort of controls, and then it's got to coordinate. The two brains got to like talk to each other. And I feel like that's what driving Smee
that dinosaur never had someone not to talk to.
That's exactly right. He can talk to his own
Could
ass.
you imagine the top brain being like, good morning, and the bottom brain's like, shut up.
Yeah, must like bad-tempered twins. But anyway, Smee is an amazing robot, and he's going to get absolutely massacred in one of these future matches. But we'll find out. But anyway, the opening card was a really great mix of like robots you knew and robots you didn't, and ones that were sure to win, and some that could pull off upsets.
And the upset that episode.
Yeah, which upset was? Oh yeah,
the ups.
The big upset.
I'm telling you, that's the kind of drama. Like we could just say the upset, and we remember how brutal that loss was. Like that's what this show does for you guys.
That's exactly
I don't know.
right.
I don't know how we could sell it any other way.
But this is the thing someone should mention in the review because this will really stand out. So why don't you do your review?
Okay, I know what the review is for this one.
Okay,
go on there. Okay, if you're listening to the show and you haven't reviewed, and I think I saw the stat, quite a few people have reviewed, which is very nice. There's a few of you haven't. In fact, now it's Christmas time. That could be the gift for Hollow Weekly. It's a 5-star review gift. It's a free gift. That's the best kind of gift. You don't spend any money. You just give that shit out. Go on.
Than money does.
Go on BattleBots. Look at the card. All right, pick your. I think they should have the roster of who's all fighting this year. Comment with who you think is going to take it all the way. What robot do you think will get the giant nut? Which is the name of the trophy? Don't go there.
That's going to show up in the review. That's
you know what? Like the review, it has to show up. Say the review, it should go like this: I think the giant nut will go to, and then and capitalize nut NUT.
Oh my god!
And then put your bot, and then water splash emoji.
We drove this review request as well as we would drive Smee. So yeah, do that. That's really good. I think that it's pretty obvious that I'm going to say Bite Force is going to go all the way, even though
I know.
Right?
I know.
I'd be rooting for Witch Doctor, but Bite Force.
I feel like someone
proves Bite Force wrong.
I don't remember how the loss was for Witch Doctor in the finals against Witch Doctor. Was it a?
It was pretty bad. It was
bad.
I mean, it was close, but it didn't really feel like they had a chance.
I gotta go with Witch Doctor, man. I'm always gonna root for the Lakers. Like I gotta always root for Witch Doctor.
My dark horse, and I don't even know if he's there anymore, would have been Yeti. I always thought Yeti should go farther than it did, but Yeti felt like that boxer that, he's not really ever going to be champion, but man, you put him at any given day, that guy could knock you out.
Yeah.
Right? Like you need one of those who can just like on any given day.
I think
Yeti seemed to be insane enough to just charge at you with that huge spinning steel drum, and maybe if he got lucky.
So I'll put it this way: I want Witch Doctor to win.
Yeah.
I wish a flipper would go to the finals.
Yep.
Even though that's actually probably kind of a boring final, so it just gets flipped and that's it. So I get that. My dark horse is probably going to be the people who won the main event on Monday. I think they clearly they put their eyes on the prize, went out and executed it perfectly, and I think they're smarter than they play on the show.
Yeah.
I think they're criminal masterminds.
I see that you're not spoiling this, which is interesting, and I think I totally forgot about them, but that's not fair because that was so impressive. And that was under so much scrutiny because that was a long time.
They wanted it for 2 years. And
that was a long time coming, right? So to be able to execute that well under that amount of pressure with that, there was you couldn't sneak up on the opponent because that was prearranged, and so you're right, absolutely right. That's someone that could easily
keep our eyes on them.
And that's definitely someone that could easily go and had a good run before. So it's not, so all right.
Yeah, they're not nobody. So all right, well, the ground rules for the reviews are out this week. I actually got to see if anyone did the oh my god, I always forget his name. The guy who did the Lights Out review. I don't think anyone did. But that was probably a really hard one because he was supposed to give us a review blind. So that probably wasn't smart. That wasn't a smart idea at all.
We'll avoid that
one. Exactly. All right. Well, this was great. Until next time, stay scary, watch a bunch of horror movies, and BattleBots Thursday night on Discovery. In fact, we actually started watching them through Sling because you can watch together. And I'll maybe just post it. We have someone joining us next week. But if you're a fan of BattleBots, you can probably watch it with us.
Yeah, come to a watch party. We'll just make sure you're in the Facebook group. We'll drop a link.
Yeah. Don't be weird and come watch BattleBots. Till next. Later, guys.